My grandmother took me to Blue Velvet. She did not know what the movie was, so I was 8, and she was like, "Everyone's saying this movie's really good."
Hi, this is Mariah Gullo from The Hollywood Reporter, and we are at the Festival of Disruption. And Bob, what are you doing here at the festival today?
Well, the Festival of Disruption is a benefit for the David Lynch Foundation to raise money to bring evidence-based transcendental meditation to inner-city school kids in Los Angeles who suffer from high levels of trauma and toxic stress. And it's shown by research to be more effective for reducing stress and allowing them to be better students than anything else. And so, as the CEO of the David Lynch Foundation, I get to enjoy some amazing artists coming here and comedians and musicians to display their creativity for a very good cause.
What was your first experience with David Lynch?
So nervous when I met him, and immediately his kindness. It's the first thing that you meet when you walk in the room.
The very, very first impression of David was he yelled at me, but he was very quick to be okay and apologize.
Being a nerd fanboy of David, but the man himself, the intuition, the wisdom, the kindness, the fact that he said yes and keeps saying yes, and isn't just a name on the letterhead, but is the soul of the foundation. That's my favorite thing.
I've been teaching this meditation for 45 years. So in Oakland, California in like 2004, I had put on a conference, a science conference with educators and doctors about the impact of stress on children for education, talking about how meditation was working. This is even before the David Lynch Foundation. And I sort of knew David, and I said, "David, why don't you just come on over and sit in on this thing?" And he was so appalled of little kids, hearing from them, going into schools with metal detectors and armed guards. And then he heard the stories about how schools that were using the meditation was having an effect. And I think it really touched his heart. So shortly after that, we started the David Lynch Foundation. And now we've brought this meditation to 500,000 kids.
About 2010, I was on Saturday Night Live, and I'd been on the show for about 5 years, and I was having a lot of just panic attacks. I was having a really hard time getting through shows. And then so what happened was a friend of mine said, "You should listen to David Lynch's book, Catch the Big Fish," and I listened to that and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna try this." And so I went in, and a guy named Josh Pittman in New York taught me how to do TM, and I started it, and I know some people, it's different, but I took to it right away. And I can actually watch the show, and if I looked at my time back at SNL, I could be like right the demarcation line of when I started TM.
You can see the difference.
Yeah, I could totally see it where I'm having fun. I'm just having fun for a change instead of being all freaked out. You become a friend of your anxiety. You just kind of go, "Oh, there you are. Okay, cool. All right, let's go do the show."
I think in 2004, he turned to me one day and said, "You should learn transcendental meditation." And I said, "Okay," and I went the next day, and just him saying it made me go, because David has such a way with him, and it's such a part of him that I thought, oh, maybe that would be something for me.
It kind of makes you objective to certain things, or it really just clears your head. It just for me at least, the constant buzzing in your mind and all the little voices, not schizophrenic voices, but like you keep your boss's voice in your head, and like, your spouse or your dating boy and friends' voices and people you're working with, everyone kind of, telling you what you should and shouldn't be doing, or you hear that before you, make a choice. And so that barrier kind of dissipates over time, where beforehand I'd be like, well, I'm gonna take my daughter out for breakfast, and then I would talk myself out of it somehow. Well, if I do that, and then this, and then that, and then if I go there, oh, it's gonna be busy, and then I start meditation, and it's like, let's go to breakfast, and then you just go and you have a fun time.
I've always been a David Lynch fan since since I was about 10 years old, and saw The Elephant Man, and then discovered the weirder stuff as well. But I didn't know anything about meditation, but it was offered to me that if I did this poster that I would be trained to meditate. So that was how I first got involved, and then was taught how to meditate. And it was during a very stressful part of my life, so I was very grateful for the meditation training as well. It was a very, very harmonious convergence of things for my mental well-being. So I enjoyed being able to do an illustration of him that people would connect with who he is and his work, but also my style rendition of him.
And one thing that the evidence is really showing is that these schools that started as really violent, it's really a reaction among the population within that school. So when they learn transcendental meditation, the reason that starts to have a ripple effect is because they're starting to release that stress and that trauma and come out of the fight or flight and really just say, okay, I'm here. And then over time, you start to see the school transform. And then you start to see their homes transformed. And then you start to see the community transform.
For me, and I have lots of friends that meditate, but for me, when I'm improvising, I go into this kind of meditative zone. You're remaining open to whatever ideas come into being, and then you're kind of channeling those ideas and kind of mildly shaping them, and curating them in real time. So when I'm up there, I have to get out of my own way, and I have to be open to ideas. And if it's going really well, it feels like I can stand outside of myself and observe what I'm doing. I can actually be an audience member for a little bit and then go back into myself.
The times when I feel like I get my best ideas are right before I go to sleep, in the shower when I'm relaxed, and then during or after meditation. And it's because you eliminate the white noise, the static that keeps you from thinking about things in a deeper way when you meditate. So meditation naturally creates that connection with the layer beneath the static. And so I found that really, really beneficial. And whenever I'm not being good about meditating, I think if I want to have good ideas, then I should meditate.
The immediate goal is to bring this transcendental meditation technique to anyone in the world, because we see it as a medical tool, anyone who suffers from stress. Because this is not a religion, this is not a philosophy, this is not a change in lifestyle. The word meditation is like woo-woo. It's not that. Forget about that. This is just call it Technique X. Gives the body deep rest, wakes up the brain to bring this quiet time program for schools to 10,000 kids in Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and demonstrate through research that this is as important as physical exercise. This isn't something that's a luxury. This is something that every child needs. And then from there, why not just make it available to everybody? Because usually you just go to a festival and you drink beer, whatever, and you listen to music and you go home. But this has been like deep experiences. This isn't to make money, it's not a festival to make somebody rich. All these amazing performers coming together for a cause, which is let's make a healthier world.